I still have a bit of energy left. Because I definitely don't have that much. I'm going to get the word out. I know I'm earlier than normal, but it is my birthday, and it is a birthday Bonnet Chronicles. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I'm your host, Kalari GXC. It is going to be a free flowing night, and I know I might sound inebriated. I'm honestly not. I am just completely exhausted, but it is a good exhaust. We are going to get the word out on both Post and Spoutable. And even though it's a birthday bash, like I say, every week is we are going to pop off whether the chat fills up or not. And normally it does take a bit, even on our regular nights. And most people did not realize this is going to be an extended Bonnet Chronicles. So the chat might not fill up till later. And I'm okay with that. Um, there's a lot that went on this week. Honestly speaking, besides turning 30, but 30, I wish, 46, there was a lot of stuff that went down. And I think at 30 because of the 37 indictments against Doofus 45. And thank you, Beans. But it was a crazy week, and I just wanted to get into chill mode, honestly. The Republicans are doing their same old doofy, dirty crap. In fact, I decided to open with this numbnut who decided to sue a newspaper because he was attacked. He decided that I'm gonna sue them. I'm gonna show these people they can't talk bad about me. I'm the big bad GOP man. And in the lawsuit, emails got exposed showing that once again, 45 tried to pressure the Pennsylvania election board and their senator into doing something that was not only highly illegal but highly unethical with regards to the 2020 elections. And we knew that these people weren't the brightest bulbs. We knew that they don't work on the same standing of ethics and supposed morals as the rest of us people. But the levels of idiocy and depravity that runs rampant in the GOP currently, this is why I said, all we on the Dem side have to do is stay focused, keep our eye on the prize, continue with our good set of stability, and don't F this up. But I, like many others, have seen the rumblings, and their newest way to divide and conquer our group is going to be reparations. And thanks for the resub, honey. 26 months. What makes me sad about reparations is, as an adult descendant of slaves, I would love a nation that could have a serious, mature handling of the topic, that could understand the nuances, understand what could potentially go wrong with such allocation of funds, but would have serious actual looking into it and actually working on ways to make it happen because it needs to happen. Whether people want to accept it or not, our country's gravest sin was slavery. And there are a lot of us who still feel the negative impact and effects of the American slave trade. And I can't speak for how other countries that had slave trade handled stuff, but let's just say they have compensated the people that actually owned us better than the people who literally toiled and died to keep this country's economy going. So we need to work on that, and I do agree that reparations has to be a thing, but we are not the nation, especially in this current condition, to even try to negotiate something like that, to even take it seriously, to even understand that by state, it differs. Who could literally qualify? I feel like a lot of people just throw around the word reparations without giving it thought, balance, or actual nuance, without seeing, especially after what happened with the PPP loans during 45's run as president. And I'm not saying that under Biden Harris it would be bad, because I really do trust and feel that at least with them at the wheel, hopefully the rampant bullshit wouldn't go on. But you have got to put trust in states like Florida not fucking over people, Texas, Georgia, Mississippi can't even get clean water for their people. So you want to have a serious conversation about reparations for people who don't even want us drinking safe water. And I see what this is, sadly. They know that they can't divide us when your president saves the debt ceiling, when your president rolls out a vaccine mandate, when your president does everything he's supposed to do in spite of the media's jib jabs at him, in spite of people going, well, I don't know if he's young enough for this. He's doing a job, but shouldn't we try to shake things up? All of these negative type people who seem to be anti-stability, they're seeping into the pores of our nation, and we have to stop letting their little nitpicks get to us. Would reparations be nice? Yes. I don't think there is a black person alive that has not heard talks of it all of our lives. It has gone through conversations, whether it's at the dinner table or at a barbecue, about why it couldn't happen. You always have those uncles or grandpas or older folks that they don't believe. And you can't blame them. But these are the same people who would say that there could never be a black president, there could never be a female president, constantly stuck in that loop of negativity. I am not one of those old hats that thinks that it can't happen. I just think that currently our nation is not ready to have the serious conversations that we need to have for reparations. We are not in a place to govern it properly in a lot of these states. And I would like to see it actually go to not only helping grow our communities, but strengthen our communities. Not just financially, but education-wise. The line of poverty is so strong in our country as it is, but even immensely strong because the prejudices and the bigotry that black people go through in our own nation. So I'm not going to act like reparations wouldn't help that somewhat. But when you add the amount of idiotic dummies who already think that everything's being taken from them, and they're armed up and they're ignorant and they don't want to share this land as it is, even though it's not really their say. You add a financial gain that they can't get their hands on top of that, and it is a powder keg of idiocy that will explode on us as well. So we really have to do things, not only strategic and smart, but in a governed nation that actually wants to do right by all of us. Not just some of us, not just one state versus another. And I know that there are some states that are already starting to implement their own versions of reparations. I've seen California is trying their own version of it, and they make the kind of funds where that makes sense. But there are plenty of states that cannot compete with that right now. And that's the problem with trying to show off and do something that will have such a deep impact. And there are way too many character actors who claim to want to be about progress, to claim to want to be about actually protecting democracy. They're too busy trying to push the reparation thing down our throats. And I'm calling you out because you're suspect. This wasn't coming out of your mouth 4 years ago even. There was hardly any talks of reparations. Every time it was brought up on Twitter and stuff, it was shot right the fuck down. Now all of a sudden, because you know you can't ding this administration on its work ethic, you can't ding how they handle geopolitical stuff, you can't even ding them on the domestic stuff, and there has been a lot of bullcrap that this administration has had to navigate because some of you have let your states run into the ground. But instead of understanding that we need stability, that we need a nation that can keep itself together, and that we have to work on the individual states that are still holding us back from actual progress. You have these character actors sliding in. But what about reparations, black people? Get in. We need to talk. I seen something on Spoutable that gave me pause because I love Spoutable and I love that people have their own opinions on stuff, even when I vehemently don't agree with that opinion. And somebody I actually have a respect for spouted out something that made me go, they decided that it would be their turn to say, well, I don't see why Democrats will worry about other people running next year. Healthy competition will get us talking about reparations. And that is when all the red flags in Tinny's bonnet went up. I get it, though. There are going to be people that seem like they are on our side until they're not. And that is the scariest thing. And I don't want to call this person out to be wrong, but I side-eyed their spout because I was like, what do you mean? You don't go against an actual functioning incumbent for no reason. Any Democrat that runs against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris next year is persona non grata to me. I don't care how you spend it. And anybody that wants to tell me, well, it's just so that we can have healthy conversation. The president has been the most openest president that we have had in years. What conversation can't we have with Joe Biden? Some of you be playing games. You're going to try to tell me that this president won't talk to us about reparations? That's a fucking lie. You know it. Matter of fact, I guarantee to you, if he could find a way to make it happen, he would, but we have to be realistic in this. The fact of the matter is, there are going to be people who are just trying to get money next year. Those are going to be the only cats running, on our side at least. There's not a Democrat, if they are a smart, strategic Democrat at this point, that will waste our time and theirs going up against Biden and Harris. But there are going to be a lot of charlatans who want to swoop in and start shit. And the biggest topic currently, and I've seen it way too much, it was on the fucking, this is how I knew it was going to be a thing. You know, I like to shit on the root sometimes, and it's no hate. I love black-owned stuff. In fact, Spoutable launched this app today. I'm going to get to that in just a bit, too, because it's another little birthday treat to me. But The Root is a newspaper that I want to champion for. I want them to be better, but they're just not. They're corporate-run, black entertainment type news organization. I take it with a grain of salt. It's like Fox News Splendor sometimes. So I know that when I see something on The Root, it's like an eye of the wannabe far left and wannabe cosplay socialist type leanings. You got them brothers who swear they're intellectuals, but they're not pragmatic. And I knew it. The moment I started seeing them articles about reparations, and they have an article out there about how we could seriously have reparations, I'm like, yep, that's going to be how they try to divide us. Because they can't get us on Joe Biden's work ethic. They can't get us on the ageism, because the moment they start that shit and then try to push Magic Vermont Grandpa, we got them in the back. They know the only way to get into our community is start sowing the seeds of divide is to step on a very sensitive button within our community, which is not only financial security, but the fact that our country doesn't even want to talk about the fact that a lot of us are literal adult descendants of slaves. And what troubles me about the issue is it's not a nuanced issue. Some of us aren't just the adult descendants of slaves. I tell people all the time, my great grandfather, not even 2 generations deep, my mother's grandpa was a native child that white people decided, yeah, his life is too savage for him. He'll grow up in a good Christian household. We'll raise him white. Man did not look white. but he passed enough for them. They raised him in a Christian household, stripped his name, gave him the name Robert, made him what they thought was a white man, and then he fell in love with my grandmother, a black woman, and they disowned him. That's the reality of our situation. He could not go back to his tribe. He had no ties to them left. He just had to be a regular man. And that loss of connection, on top of loss of ancestral connection for so many of us, is palpable. Our roots was replanted here. We're Americans. I tell people all the time, I might say African American, but I am more than likely more American American than most people. And I'm okay with that. I've never thought, no, I need to go somewhere else. I thought about having to, especially 4 years ago. But where would I go? This is all I know. I am generations deep into this country. And I would rather stay, fight, protect, and make this country better than to just amscrag. But I'm also realistic as a mom. The fear of the wannabe fascism, the thought of trying to survive something like that, no, was not something I wanted to do. And there was a lot on my mind. And I think there's a lot of black families that have gone through this. I want you to understand, though, that if we want the kind of nation that could seriously have these kind of talks, and I don't mean this lightly. This isn't me just spitballing and shooting it down. I believe that we can get to that nation, but we have to work on our individual states before we can have a serious referendum, because it needs to happen. These are the same people who didn't believe we could take down those Confederate statues and monuments. And yeah, there are a bunch of salty ass white people still complaining about how we're a race of history. The same idiots that'll ban a book because you might hurt white people's feelings. So I know that it is possible for reparations to be on the table one day, but we're not there yet. And that is just my opinion on that. I don't want to shoot it down. I don't want people to lose hope. But if the idea of reparations in your current governor, especially, and I need you to understand, it will be in your current governor's hands. If that doesn't make you pause, then you're lucky. I could say that under Governor Whitmer, I believe funds would be handled right. But I'm not from Michigan. That's another thing people need to understand. The way reparations should be handled, I was born in New York State. Even though my family has clear ties because they came from the South, especially, which state would pay my family reparations? Where would I start to prove our line of descendancy? Who owned us? I mean, I could go by the last name Walker and think that maybe they did, but it makes me kind of sad trying to wrap my mind around all the complexities of that. And it bothers me that people try to make it seem like it's so freaking easy. The realities of being an adult descendant of slaves, and not even an adult because our kids are literally descendants of slaves as well, is that we do not know how deep it went, who owned what. We only know that this nation benefited from it. And we know that they continue to societally structure themselves with ire because they had to let us be free. So yes, I do believe that compensation has well been overdue, and that this country could well do it properly under decent governing, but we are not there yet. And I want us to get there, and the only way we are going to get there is by state by state. Not only kicking out governors that don't give a crap about anything but their own self and ego, but electing local officials who want to not only budget properly, but see all of us rise up. It's real cutesy at first, that us versus them, until you realize your state is in the ground for education. Your state is in the ground for infrastructure. And then it's not so funny anymore, is it? The world is growing, advancing, moving forward, and you're still stuck. And the only thing you got going for you is maybe the meth lab and gun running, and that's not enough. So I want people to open their eyes to the proper potential. I want them to stop letting them little divisive birdies get in their ears about things that we are still not mature enough to handle. Because if you want to have serious talks about slavery reparations, because that's what we need to make sure that this is well known. This isn't just a blanket term of reparations. This is for those of us who can trace our lineage back to being in bondage. And there are a lot of us. But it will not be an easy task. And I want it to be done with serious thought, planning, and in a way that actually helps the Black community. And there are way too many dummies out there that they don't care. They think, oh, no, Black people don't care about that. They just want to pay that. And like any community, you will have those knuckleheads that they think that's all that matters. Let's just get paid. Who cares about what else? And all? I don't want to think about. Those people aren't in charge, and they're never going to get to be in charge. The people who are going to be in charge of this, I want to make sure they're not going to fuck us over like the people who were in charge of the PPP loans. We even had issues here in Michigan with that. We had people who didn't even live in our state able to claim loans. They're going to do jail time for that shit. But when I say the amount of rampant fraud that went down on a federal level is scary to me, but isn't surprising. And I know all of us have that cousin or auntie that knows how to skim certain things and knows how to do certain cheating things. You know where I'm alluding to. So I know that there will always be those types in our community that want to just get money. They don't care about the consequences. But if we want lasting stability, if we want a true economic boost that will help not only our areas, our schools, our communities, we have to do this smart. And we can't do this under bad leadership. And yes, we have a good president. I will not stop singing President Biden's praises because he doesn't get enough credit. One of the things that I enjoyed the other day, I was sitting in a friend's stream, and like a lot of white people, I feel like they have strong opinions without having real opinions. And I know I might hurt their feelings by saying that, but I feel like I have to be blunt about this because only one demographic gets to be as wishy-washy about things like politics, and it sure is not my Black ass, because my survival depends on who's running what. I don't get to be anti-government because depending on who's leading, my people could really suffer. I could never have the arrogance of being apolitical in anything. It is about survival for people like me. So listening to him and a few others who I'm going to assume were white, I don't want to assume people's demographic, but the way they were talking gave me that vibe. And the whole idea of I don't take a side, and I know people get mad at me for it, but I don't believe in this. And it's like, I get it. It's hard for you to believe. You have listened to probably Friends, right-wing radio, even supposed liberal talk bullshit that tells you that you're entitled to stuff, that government should work for you, that you should get free stuff, that if it's not going your way, then you should just stay home and protest. You have been fed for years this constant stream of entitlement. So when my black behind comes around and tells you, hey, I know things aren't going completely your way and you don't feel centered. And I know that politics isn't always the most fun topic, but if you vote this way, all of us could get a boost up, and that kind of makes more sense. And that we don't really need a politician that's a rock star. We need somebody who's going to get legislation passed. Typical pragmatic things that I've learned over the years, stuff that isn't fun and glamorous, but would actually help all of us. It's like blank stares and dead silence for some. And I get it. Because unlike me, you didn't have a grandma taking you by your hand as a child and saying, vote because they don't want you to have this. They will take it from you if you don't watch it. You never had the fear of losing that ability, and you don't seem to see the damage it does by not being politically aware and invested. I can't afford to be apolitical. I cannot afford to not be invested. And on a state by state basis, I know our nation's not ready for actual mature conversations. You've got the idiot in Florida with Don't Say Gay. And not only Don't Say Gay, book banning advanced history for black studies. Pretty soon, having a baby in Florida is going to come at a risk. Existing in Florida, if you even look a certain way, is going to come at a risk. I lived near Miami Beach for years. It is, to me, nearest to New York and one of the biggest openly, brightly gay areas of Florida. And I don't say that to mock it. It is also one of the beautifulest sections of Florida that I've gotten to hang out in. But the reality of the situation is there are people that live in that state that at this time feel under attack. And that is the only thing the GOP has going for it now. Who can we attack and how? Even if they fail. Like this doofus. Let me get his name because I laughed at it. Senator Dan Laughlin decided to file a lawsuit against the paper complaining about the election and then revealed a bunch of emails once again, and I brought it up earlier, that 45 tried to cheat in the federal election. And this is why I said I want us to be better. We've got to work on a state by state basis. The flip side of that is having a governor that not only allocates funds for proper things, infrastructure that doesn't just fall apart, having revenue that not only pumps money into schools but retains people in the state. We're going to be probably taking in an influx of idiots from other red belt states soon anyway, with their weirdo abortion bans and heartbeat bills. Doctors do not want to work in states where they got to worry about being arrested for doing their job. So I do expect a great influx in the state that not only has legalized weed, but actual chip money. We just approved a plant for the, I believe, basis for electric cars. Michigan is coming up, and I want to see us continue on, but I don't just want our state to be prosperous. This isn't me thumbing my nose and say, oh, well, you just need to come move here. Matter of fact, I would prefer if other people would freaking get their states together instead. But I do know that some of you privileged fucks are going to amscray and move here and try to ruin things for us, and that's not going to work out the way you want. If you're not Michigan strong, don't waste our time. And I'm saying that with my full chest because I don't like the idea of people carpetbagging their way in here fucking things up for us. We got a good thing running in our state, and I'd like to keep it that way. And our completely next door neighbor could really use an influx of smarter people, despite them trying to fight it, despite them getting idiots like J.B. Vance and Pritzker. Ohio really does need smarter leadership. So I am hopeful that more Democrats will start to open their eyes to what you can do. You have had really tough times for your state, including that awful environmental spill. All the scandal from Jim Jordan's bullshit. Aren't you ready for actual effective leadership? People who want to not only do right by your state, but beyond. People who want to elevate your state from being, oh God, Ohio. What do we know from there? Cleveland? Serial killers? Not much else? Don't you want to be more than that? I think you can be. I think there's a lot of potential in every single state of the union. But we really got to elevate our game. Stop with the can'ts. Stop with the staying home. Stop with the I need to be centered for some of you. And stop with the crab and the barrel mentality, because that is what the reparations talk is hyper focused on. They want those salty brothers who don't really want to be politically invested anyway, but want an excuse to be mad and stay home, and the ignorant sisters who support them. And luckily for black people, there's not that many in the ignorant sister demographic. Most of those heifers scurry off to the right because it's way more lucrative for them. But for the most part, black women, we keep our eye on the prize. We have had to play the longest of the long game. That's why I laugh at the freaking games some people try to play. Just today, when we found out that the Spoutable app was being launched, which, if y'all don't know, Spoutable now has an app. Go on the iOS store, the Android store, I believe Apple and Google Play, they all have the Spoutable app, hopefully. But what Google Play likes to try to do, like every other tech bro bullshit, is push stuff down. And I made it known that when I went on to the Play Store and I typed in Spoutable, instead of the app that I was looking for coming right up, I had to scroll down past all the normal social media apps, including Tribal, which I didn't even think had an app, but also weirdo independent apps and other bullshit to finally get to Spoutable. They literally tried to back of the bus this app. And I know some people are going to say, well, it's new. All you have to do is click on it and new. If I put something in, normally in the Google Play Store, like when I was looking for my slime game, because I play Slime and Sakai Memories, the moment I typed in slime, I was able to get the game. Any other time I've wanted an app, put in the name, it's right there at the top. But Spoutable, a social media app they knew just launched that should have been at the complete top of the search, you literally had to go fishing for it. It's on purpose. But what I don't think they understand is that black people are used to these shenanigans. We're used to your antics. The indignities that you try to push upon us only make us stronger. We have lived life on hardcore mode. This is not our first rodeo when it comes to shenanigans like this. Instead of getting mad, I was like, okay, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to get this app put on my phone, which I did. And then I gave them the 5-star ratings they deserve, because I have been on Spoutable every day since its launch. Even if I'm just lurking. Even if I don't completely post that day, I am on this app constantly because it's a fun app. And my pod is continuing to grow, flourish, and interact with each other. And I know there was a lot of back and forth, unnecessary drama that I've been staying out of because I am working on the second novel and other projects, and I don't have the time or energy for it. Now, I'll be straight up. I know some people are arguing back and forth. I don't care. They're grown. And as long as I'm not being tagged in, oh well. I don't know who's arguing with who, and I don't give a fuck. And I'm sorry that it comes across as unfeeling at this point, But when you have the amount of ideas and projects and stuff that's going on with me, I just don't have time for who's mad at who over something that feels like a slight on the social media app. People are allowed to give their opinions as well. Some of you really want a Henny Penny and Miss Anne spoutable, and it's not going to work out for you. Another point that was being floated around is, well, maybe some people don't like being piled on. We shouldn't be like the Bird app, which I countered with, if you type something dumb, you might get piled on. Some people will say the most ignorant stuff with their full chest on social media, whether they overshare, lack of hygiene, whether they say something blatantly bigoted, and we're not allowed to respond. I don't agree to those terms. I might not have the same clapback energy that I've had even 4 years ago, but if I see a fool and I can call that person a fool, I'm going to call that person a fool. And if 50 or maybe 50,000 other people want to join me, that person better enjoy the ratio. Nobody wants to be the internet main character, but so many fools signed up for it. And I'm sorry that some people think that it's bad to pick on somebody that literally puts their bullshit out there. But that's not my problem. What troubles me is how many of you have more sympathy for them devils than the people that their nonsense pick on. And more sympathy for them devils than those of us who are literally just trying to make it better for everybody, who don't understand the concept of lifting everybody up. That's why I was floored by, but not surprised by my apolitical friends. Because I feel like there are too many that still don't understand the impact of their apoliticalness or their anti because I'm being edgy. Does it affect me anyway? And it really does. Who represents all of us affects all of us. And if you're pragmatic, you understand that early on. We get so much more done when there's more pragmatic people who understand that sometimes things are better without you directly feeling it, but it's the impact of everybody being lifted up that matters. Sometimes stuff is taken care of that doesn't even directly affect you, whether it's budgeting, billing, building and infrastructure, schools being put up. Things are supposed to get better for everybody. But if you're constantly told that only your demographic matters, only your button issues matter, or that you shouldn't speak up because you don't matter, that's a problem. No pragmatic person is going to tell you that. And I tell people all the time because some people get pragmatism wrong. It's not that hard. Some of you think that we're supposed to just sacrifice and be shut up and not care at all about our own needs, and that's not the goal. We just realize that some people will try to utilize our issues as a one note or button that can't be crossed, and that is not how it works because we're not willing to throw everything away in the hopes that somebody will push something for us. When instead we can elect somebody that will not only go there, but beyond us because we know it's not just about us. There are a lot of people out there that don't understand that concept. You mean it's not about me? I can go anywhere and be treated like a queen. I can go anywhere and be treated like a king. If I tell somebody to jump, they'll say hi, hi. I don't want to have to think about politics. Politics already look like me, so why should I care? And I don't want to have an opinion because if I have an opinion that people don't like, people won't like me because it's all about that image. And I don't know, maybe it's because I've never had the luxury of really worrying about my image. It's already been tarnished by a brown barrier for some reason. I just realized that I'm going to do me no matter what. I'm going to carry myself as strongly as possible because that is the only way to move forward in this fuckery nation. It's the only way to move the needle towards actual better. And it's the only way to show people that you cannot in this day and age. Sit on the fence, act like there's no choosing for you at all. All right, Beans, we'll still be here in about an hour, so thank you so much for sitting on. And I agree with Michigan, but we really had a rough time here in Michigan to bring that up. And I know Beans is scooting out for a little bit, but I'm going to bring it up because I know they'll sit back and rewatch this on YouTube. One of the things about Michigan politics that I think a lot of people get wrong is that it's completely blue here, and it's not. In fact, Axiom Wolf and I are about to move to a very not blue area of the state, and I'm worried because I am a very registered Democrat, and I don't want to live in the area where people think that I am morally wrong and the boogeyman. But the reality of the situation is, I want to be a homeowner. So we're risking a lot, but I'm not giving up any political chops for it. In fact, hopefully, before my senator retires, which she's doing soon, I'll be able to vote in a better replacement for her before I leave this district. But the reality is, like every state, you have red pockets and blue pockets vying for control. And right now, we have an amazing governor in Governor Whitmer. She's only one person, and she can only do so much. And you have 14 Republican yahoos, including that one black wackadoo chick, going for her last time. And we got lucky because it was on the heels of January 6th and all the other bullshit the nation's seen. We really don't want these cats in charge. But you just never know. They are crowdfunding. They are in their churches salty, trying to figure out who they can run. They ran a cartoon character last time as their more serious character. I can't even remember her name. Her name sounded like an old Looney Tunes character. But they might just find that person next time. So we have to be vigilant. And we have to be informed. And it can't just be our governor either. We need to make sure that our senators and our House representatives are doing the right thing. We don't have that all the time either. We have a squad member here running her mouth, saying sometimes anti-Semitic things, acting like a damn fool. I would love to make sure that she doesn't do a lot of damage to us. But that requires people running. We also have school boards that need people with level heads and minds that aren't pushed by, that makes white people feel bad. We should ban it. Because if you don't think that the dumb shit that's going on in certain southern states and some Midwestern states could happen here in Michigan, you got another thing coming. We literally still have sundown towns here in the state. We literally have parts of Michigan that my black behind could not be in at any time. And there are times where I worry, even with my partner, where we are thinking about settling down because you just don't know. And I would love for our country to be less like that. But it requires those who think that they can't be open about being liberal. Can't be open about being inclusive without being, I don't want to be accused of virtue signaling. If this is your virtue, if this is who you are, why would you be ashamed of that? If you are a decent person, be defiantly decent. Be in people's face about it. This is who I am. I accept people. People are my friends. I don't judge them for their orientation. I don't judge them for their skin color. I accept all, and if you don't like me for it, kiss my ass. There are plenty of people who do. I want more white people especially to have that attitude, because the whole idea of, I don't want to look fake. Well, are you being fake? Because that kind of made me pause when I was seeing that argument. And I do believe there was a lady that did a compilation on TikTok about that. And I don't know how else to respond to any white person that's worried about being accused of virtue signaling. If it's your virtue, who the hell cares? If this is how you really believe, if you believe in inclusivity, if you believe in elevating black, brown, any voice that's not just white along with your voice, because we're not saying that your voice doesn't have a place too. In a good society, we're all able to talk to one another, not over and not cutting other people off from their feelings. But the reality of the situation is some of you have had control of the podium far too long and you don't know how to share. You don't know how to let people who have gone through it express ourselves and explain what we need. And then, like I said, like with the reparations, you have them character actors that swing in with slogans like the policeman that wasn't really a policeman, but you let the right swing it their way. Ah, they're trying to ban the blue. And then the far left with their, oh, we need to repeal their funds and all this other dumb shit without realizing that many black people, whether we live in rural areas, whether we live in urban areas, do believe in needing the police. We just want to be able to call them and not die to their hands if we need them for an emergency. We want to be able to live in our neighborhoods, whether they get gentrified or not, and not have some weirdo Karen calling the police on us for minding our own black business or enjoying our own black lives. We want the police to be a force that works for us as citizens. And they get a budget where they could. Their budget can afford them some actual quality community training instead of Kevlar. But instead, we have trained them to be military level. And then we release these people into our communities and they kneel on our necks. So if we want that to stop, we have to stop being apolitical. And welcome to the chat, Flurfay. We really have to start being forceful with being openly, defiantly decent. And I know some people will go, Tim, what do you mean by defiantly decent? I mean that if you wish no harm on the people. And I know some people think that's not easy. It can't be people you don't wish harm. There are a few people on this earth, and they know who they are and what they did, that I can honestly say that I would be team cut a bitch for. But for the most part, I don't have ill will towards humanity. So in reality, my goal for the rest of my days on this planet is to make less enemies. I'm not trying to be everybody's friend either. I think the reality of the situation is I'm more likely apathetic to a lot of people, but I'm not apathetic to the needs of other people. I think the honest truth is I want better for everybody, even people who don't look like me, because in a better world, I will deal with less of you. The introvert in me goes, in a more stable society, I have less bullshit from people. In a chaotic society, I have to deal with more of this nonsense. So I'm being completely selfish in my defiantly decency. Also, because I know what it's like to have a society crap on me for something that I could not and do not want to change about myself, being a black woman. I don't want anybody who knows who they are, whether they are trans, whether they are LGBTQ, whether they are just of a different ethnic background than me, to ever feel like their place in this world shouldn't be because of that. It is Pride Month 2023, and there are more than 7 states with strong anti don't say gay bills. There are plenty of states with moratoriums being drafted as we speak because they think it is their moral crusade to go against the LGBTQ. And if I've learned anything from history, is the moment a country starts using scapegoats, it is only a matter of time before they're rounding people up. And we have had way too much of that throughout our course of history. We need to get away from that mindset. We need to get away from making enemies out of people. We need to get away from the easy, low hanging fruit of hate. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but I tell people all the time the best way to purge it is to realize that these people aren't your enemy. Even if you don't understand it, even if you know confidently, which I tell people all the time, there are some of you out here that try to swing that confidence, and you know you're not fooling anybody. Because human sexuality is a very complex mental thing. That's why so many of you are fucking deviants. Because you don't get to understand yourself, what you like, what's natural, and what's not natural. And then you got these so-called holy rollers telling you, well, two boys liking each other isn't natural, but ignore that youth pastor who's looking at that young girl a little bit too hard. Some of you play games with your morality, and I don't have time for your rule sets. I don't want to play in your ponds at all. I want a society that actually starts to understand human condition, human sexuality, and the psychology behind that. Because once we start doing stuff like that, once people start to understand the things they like, the things other people like, and understanding that what other people, especially two grown consenting adults, do in their own privacy is none of your business and has absolutely nothing to do with the morality of your nation, we can get somewhere. But the point is control, sadly, still. And how can you control masses? Through sexual stuff, through telling people how they can learn, through funding. And we have had too many awful cats controlling things for so long that they won't give that grip up easily. That's why they're floating that dummy, even though he's got 37 indictments, as a serious candidate still. Because they still have hope that the 4 years under him with all the death, destruction, and sickness wasn't enough for some people. But that we would want to go back to that. And what scares me is the amount of people who think, well, yeah, I did lose some family members and it was kind of bad, but he'll let me be an awful person loudly. He'll let me be openly racist. Maybe I should vote for this. The people in my church are saying they're going to do it again. Sure, they'll repeal my rights as a woman. I didn't need those anyway. I wanted them to restrict it. And these cats are not even being subtle about it. Southern Baptist Convention has decided in some states, and this is supposedly alleged, but the news article has been clear, that they are starting to repeal the ministries of female pastors in certain sects. They're going complete scorched earth with the idea of moving forward within faith because they fear that inclusive nation won't have room for spirituality. And I say to them that that is their fallacy because a faithful society can be a smarter society. But it's those who know that they're neither faithful or smart that fear a smarter society. And I worry about Christians who are just confused right now, who are being indoctrinated to have enemies instead of working towards being actual better people, who don't understand that your path is to stay balanced, to stay decent, and to help others. That is the whole core of Christian values. And I see far too many of you being taught to shun, judge, hate, and completely create enemies where there should be none. If any faith was constantly driven when I was growing up, the whole idea of loving, accepting, and taking care of one another, that is what that faith was supposed to be about. Yet if you listen to the current crop of TikTok wannabe influencers who claim Christianity, they want to boycott stuff for inclusivity because they're on some weirdo pseudo moral crusade. Yeah, what are they doing to help neighborhoods? What are they doing to help their fellow man besides pointing fingers at an enemy? What are they doing to actually be decent Christians and human beings? That's what you got to ask yourself if you believe in any of your spirituality. I tell people all the time, I'm not a deeply religious person anymore. I consider myself an open pagan. I'm a very spiritual person. I do not debunk religion. In fact, even in my sci-fi writing, Jews will see leans of both my spiritual ideology and leanings and my beliefs. I believe that there is room for spirituality in both the scholar sense and in our lives, but I do not believe that it should be a doctrine and dogma that creates divide. And I believe that way too many people found lucrativity off of that. So we're wading through a lot of charlatans and fake people who utilize faith as a way to not only fatten their pockets, but to build an army of loyal people who won't question them. I read this article the other day about this lady who lost her job at a university and she wouldn't let them spank her child to show them how to be loyal in their sect. Evangelicals have got some wild stories, and I remember how the church was back in the day for me. So I knew it was getting kind of wild, but I had no idea the amount of weirdo indoctrination. Everything from that weird Arrow Society, which are literally grooming their next crop of Stepford wives, allegedly, to this whole idea of literally beating little kids into submission so that they can just accept that that's their place. I'm worried about this nation because that shit should be normalized. Nobody should be putting their hands on your child unless they are directly related to and in charge of the care for that child. And even then, child abuse is not okay. Yeah, we have continuously sanctioned it. It's like, oh, well, Tim, that's why society's falling. Society is not falling. All the issues that we have with violence, that's people who don't pay attention and get hit a lot. A lot of those people are angry because they were getting beat up as fucking kids. You give them access to a weapon, lack of mental health control, and there you go. I'll even be 100% with you. A lot of my wrath issues, a lot of my emotional instability issues was because of the hitting that I took as a child. Nobody should go through that. And this is way too normalized, especially in our communities. Oh, it'll toughen them up. It'll discipline them. And granted, I don't talk back to my elders. And granted, I've got a look that can kill. But you know what my son can't say that I definitely wish I could? That he cannot say that I've ever hit him so hard that he has feared me. He fears me for the natural stuff. I think having an authoritative presence to a certain extent is important when it comes to parenting. But there is a line between I fear this person because I don't want to disappoint them. I fear this person because hey, there's serious business to a certain extent. But I never wanted him to fear me because I would hurt him. Because I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to feel hated by the person that gave birth to you. And I don't ever want to put that out there. And there are way too many people that have kids that don't think on that level. And y'all are out there making this world worse for all of us. I want this world to be better, especially for our kids and beyond. But I want people who are hurting to be able to get help too. We've definitely got to work on that on a state by state. I'm 46 years old. Most people with what I've been diagnosed with don't make it to this age. And I'll be honest, there were times where I almost didn't. I tell people all the time, my book Axiom, if you actually get to read it, the banner's up there on my spoutable. It is a sci-fi biotech story, but it is also a story about survival. And not all the characters get to, because I wanted to be real about that too. I can't always verbalize what I've went through. But I tell people all the time, the whole reason I'm here is because of my best friend and partner. There was a night that I got to that end. That final night was planned. And instead of doing it, I spent the night talking to my friends, and they convinced me to go to the hospital instead. And I found out I was having kiddo. If they hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be here. I know what it's like to get into that mindset, to literally plan, smile in people's face when I knew that was going to be my last day on this earth. And when you get to that moment of certainty, it is very hard to shake it. But like many people with suicidal ideation, you do have aspects of you that just want to know people care. And I got lucky that night. Greg is not a forceful guy. And I don't say that to act like he's a light guy, but he is not the kind of guy that likes to be blunt and mean about stuff. And when he was like, you need to promise me you're going to the hospital, don't F around with this, go. It was just like, okay, all right, I'll do it. And I'm glad he did it. And I feel like it happened for a reason. Not only because he came out of his face, which is something he doesn't do often, but when he does, I know he's being serious. But because maybe he just felt at the time that was something that I needed to hear. And it was. And he saved my life. He saved Kiddo's life. And we've been together since. Best friends to start. Now engaged. Everything happens for a reason. But it's not easy. And I want anybody who is currently struggling with mental health issues to know you're not alone. I really hope that you are in a state that has resources for you. Know that online has a lot of amazing groups now. A lot of mental health apps are out there now. They're not all great, but there was a time where we couldn't even openly talk about mental health. And now I live in a day and age where you can literally go online and get a therapist. The future is bright for those of us who used to think we had to struggle in silence and suffer because we didn't want to embarrass people, because saying that you have mental health issues is embarrassing, but it's not. It is a mental health issue. It is not a character flaw. It is not something that you can wear as an accessory or put on and put off. It is who you are. And you are not less than because you have that. And I want anybody who makes it to, especially my age and older, going through this, to understand that you are so amazing and strong. And I don't say this just because I'm going to look myself in the mirror later and say it. I say it because it's true. It is not easy to last this long with your mind being this way. And like I told Greg the other night, I'm fortunate that I'm able to channel a lot of this into creative stuff now, because for years I had no direction with it. There are a lot of voices in my head, but no real function for them. A lot of stuff going on in my mind, but no reason to channel it. And then when I started writing, it just gave me another sense of purpose on top of motherhood. One of the things that I got blessed this morning with was the boys were excited about my birthday. And I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Birthdays haven't always been a great day for me. I normally just want this day to go by quickly, be done. I have some past trauma, and I don't want this to be a whole hour of me trauma dumping. But the truth is, I never used to like my birthday. Before Greg and I became a serious couple, I actively tried to avoid my birthday because it was either broken promises, fights, or parties that really weren't about me. It was always hard for me on my birthday. I would put on a mask and pretend like I was happy to be there even when I wasn't. And I would just hope that one of the things that I asked for would be given as a gift, if that. I just did not normally take this day as serious and stop being about me for years. So when Greg started to make it more about me and try to get me to enjoy it, take it serious, whether it was our bookstore romps or just trying to make the day feel good, I went along with it kind of skeptically at first. But this morning, I literally woke up wanting to enjoy my birthday, and I have. The boys were super excited, gave me a box of manga for Greg and a box of plushies for the kid, and just the sweetest card about choosing me that made me tear up because kiddo's not the kind of kid that likes to express his emotions easily. They say, "Oh, it's the Aquarius in him," and no, it's just the way we are as people. We don't really express our feelings verbally all the time, but to know that he cares about me that deeply felt good. And to have him think about my birthday, because I honestly, when I stay outside Greg, I don't normally expect or even try to get gifts from people normally on that day. It was nice to have him plan with Greg weeks ahead of time to get me stuff that he. I like plushies. I'm okay with that. And I feel like it's just little things like that that reduce the trauma. And I know that there are a lot of adults out there like me who have dealt with just unnecessary nonsense that make days like this harder. But there's so much good if you keep at it. So much good that can happen with a support system. Now, with Father's Day coming up on Sunday, we don't have huge plans. I'm probably gonna grill some burgers and try to make a good day for Greg because he has stepped in where others would not have, and has been the father figure that my son's needed for years now, and I want to show him appreciation. Juneteenth is coming up as well. So there is a lot to celebrate on top of my 46th birthday, and I'm looking forward to this weekend. And as you can tell, the room is getting more bare because we are breaking the house down slowly but surely as we move to the new place. And then pretty soon we will be doing these Bonnet Chronicles from our new home. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy taking my time, packing stuff up, keeping things as simple as possible, but just being here. There's so much on the horizon. I was talking to Curie Bell. I hung out in her stream the other day while she was playing Street Fighter. And one of the things about working with an artist is I always have the fear that I'm holding them back. And thank you so much, Fluffy. I wrote a bunch of scripts ahead of time just in case, but I also like to go back and fix my work because I know that sometimes I put out bull crap and I need to fix it. But I also was like, I need to start working on the second novel. So outside 6 scripts that I wrote for the webcomic, I haven't done any other work for Bomb, and I was starting to get worried. I was like, I don't know where she is. I'm not pressuring her because it's an independent thing, and I want her to have fun with this. But am I not? Do I need to give more work? I need to know. And she was worried because she's been busy with her stuff, And you know what? We're just going to talk. We're just going to communicate. If she needs something from me, she knows she can say it. If I need something from her, I know I can say it. And that's how we're going to handle the situation. It isn't easy, but I do believe that she and I met for a reason and that there is so much fun she and I are going to have telling these stories. My story, her artwork is going to be amazing. And just the stuff that she's shown me of the characters has me excited. And I also really do think I want her to work with me on the Olaroon idea that I have because I want to see African mythology come to life. And I really do think the story that I've developed will be better visual. So there's just a lot on my plate coming up. And like I said, the second novel has been the real dominant force because this year, well, today will mark a year since I released Axiom. I took a chance. I did not know whether or not the book would even sell a copy. And for me, it was just getting it finished that mattered. Being able to literally write the end, upload it, and see it published would have been enough for me. But we sold over 200 ebook copies. Plenty of friends have a copy of the paperback now, whether it's signed or they just went out and bought their own copy. There are people literally telling me, Tin, I bought your story. I'm going to get to reading it. Or Tin, like my friend Unspoken Night says, I'm reading about 20 pages a night. And it makes me smile because I wanted people to see my abilities to tell a story, but the fun that I wanted to have, the diversity I wanted to bring to sci fi instead of just constantly waiting for somebody else to do it. Just see if I could break in with my own ideas on sci fi and tech that I just wanted to see. And with the second novel, there is going to be more in not only technological ideas and fantasy for me, but spiritual fantasy that I didn't get to really lean heavily in the last book. But I think I could do it in a respectful way. So I'm excited about getting that released as well. But like anything, it does take time. And unlike the first book that I just said F it, and I don't think people understand. I finished Axiom technically in 2019. I mean, everything that I wanted to say within the pages of that book was done by 2019. I had a dear friend editing it for over a year after that, but then health problems plagued her. She was an older woman, dear sweet, but she got to a point where she couldn't do it anymore. And then last year, it just hit me. I just want to get this published. It's not perfect. There are errors here and there, and there were a lot of errors in the first edition. So some of you have a very rare edition of our book. Any of you with the pale safe? Yeah, consider yourself lucky. But I did put it out because I wanted the main story. And I think even with some of the errors, people could get where I was going with these stories. There were so many people who just loved the characters. So many of you are mad at me about Simi, and I am sorry. Not to give too much spoilers. I love her too. And I think in the next novel, you'll see how her legacy continues to impact the characters. I think that it is nice to have a story where people care about the characters. One of my dear friends said, "You know what I like about this story is I didn't know who to root for at first. You start to root for one person and you realize, oh no." Or you start to think, I can't trust that person. You realize, oh wow, I was wrong. Because I wanted to show the nuances of even antagonistic type characters. The main villain in the story, if you could even call him that, is a child that was literally created to be a weapon. And he's not even in your face. He's like the big boogeyman that everybody built up to be worse than what he is. Because that's how we humans behave. We will take something that really wasn't a big deal and make it a big deal until it becomes that. And I wanted a story that not only shows the ridiculousness of that, but to really make you think that could have been me. That could have easily been something that happened to me. No choice in the situation. But I also wanted Gideon to be a lesson. Yeah, I do believe that there will be future advances in both technology and bioevolution that will leave us in the dust if we let it. And I'm hopeful that the right hands will be guiding that and that no one is used and excluded and treated as less than. But we can't even get that right with our current state of being. So I can't imagine the ignorance leading us with an advanced state of being. But I am hopeful that we start getting cooler heads, more complex minds leading the charge because it's gonna happen. I do believe that the next step is gonna be via biotech. We're already online so much that it's not even funny. Half of us feel like we're already connected to the internet. So I do believe that our future society will have some sort of bridge between. But it won't be run by assholes like fucking Jared, Mr. Meta himself. Mr. Oh, people pay me $1,400 for a VR set to sit in a meeting and have no legs. People will buy our crypto stuff even though there's no federal backing for any of this currency, and people are losing millions, if not all their funds, because it was a pipe dream. I hate to burst people's bubble. I know people hate when I jump on financial stuff, but the crypto thing bothered me for the longest time, not only because I was being harassed on the Deadbird app by people who thought I was going to use my platform to help push their scam coins, but because anytime I ask serious questions, which I'm going to, finance was a big part of my life especially when I was younger making money. But I do take it seriously, especially since financial literacy is still very hard to get on a national level. And it's not just my community. Rural communities all over the place have a really hard time with financial literacy. So I want it to be better for all of us. But what we're not going to be able to do is have that when you've got people pushing funny money and fake coins and telling people, oh no, put your real money in this and you'll be rich. Everybody's doing it. And I'm like, okay, what federal backing does it have? What government is okay in this? Even if they had said it was a foreign government putting their stamp of approval on it, it would have been better than the literal crickets that crypto had. I wasn't shocked by FTX falling. I was just shocked it took as long as it did. And that so many people fell for that okie doke. And I know I got side eye yelled at and got called all kinds of boomer, old black bitch, and other stuff because I, for one, said if it's not federally backed, don't put your actual money into it. Don't put an amount you can't afford to lose. Way too many people didn't listen though, because it was supposed to be the wave of the future. Everybody and their mama's gonna own some kind of cryptocurrency, but you don't even know what the fucking cryptocurrency is. Ah, I bought a $14,000 mining rig. I'm gonna have a whole bunch of it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what its value is or what it can be used for, but I have a ton of it. It's all in my wallet. I'm being facetious. I don't own any. I refused. I didn't even take any as uh, gratuity or gift because I don't want to deal with non-federally backed money. And I know it was hard for people here, and there's still some people. The moment I started shitting on crypto, they probably, I'm not gonna listen to this. You just don't know. You just gotta ride the wave. Waves done crashed. It's drowning. They are still losing billions. Some of the biggest markets, if you can even call it that. Not even the FTX scan. I believe the latest one happened right out of Seoul. It is a mess. Don't tie your money up to something that is federally backed. You want to gamble? Do the stock market. At least there, even though you're probably going to lose, yet funds are a little bit more guaranteed than some coin pushed by some dum dum on YouTube. I don't even understand. Everything about crypto should have put up people's red flags. But people are so invested in trying to amass power or that illusion of power. And they know that currently in our society, the ones who hold all the power are financial. Doesn't matter if they're smart. Apartheid edgelord has shown that. That's why Twitter is getting evicted from places. Oh yeah, there's an article. Their landlords weren't happy about that $968,000 promissory note, which I can't even imagine a promissory note being that much. But the fact that they literally went to a judge showing the promissory note and showing that I ain't got no money and had to literally evict their Boulder, Colorado offices, it's an embarrassment. Apartheid edgelord is running Twitter beyond the ground at this point. And I'm not saying that so that people just jump over the spout bowl, even though we just got a new app, y'all. So you might want to get in while it's nice and fresh and everything's new. But the fact of the matter is, money is their way to control stuff. Money is their power. And they're not thinking on the level of better for all of us. That's why his space rockets, instead of actually doing stuff for research and getting us into space, have been exploding. Why he could waste money on ugly ass space trucks that do absolutely nothing. They're vanity projects at this point. That's why his Teslas are coming under scrutiny and fire as well. Because it's all about making his power structure secure instead of a more stabilized society and environment for all of us. And we've got to get away from that dynamic. I know it won't be easy, but I know it's not impossible. One of the things that I loved writing about the future, especially, and even though I'm doing it in fantasy mode, is the idea that society will get away from elevating these idiots that just happen to be born in the right family, just happen to have the right connections. We're going to get away from the, oh, I was born privileged, so you should treat me better. And just realize that you need to kind of show us that you're going to be a valued member of our community. And our communities need to support one another. But we also need to stop putting that whole, well, that person's just privileged, so we need to accept that. Because that's gotten us nowhere. I don't understand the need for it anymore. And the moment we start to move away from that and start to worry about nurturing, teaching, and continuing to be a better society, that's where the real money, if you want to call it, is. And even better, maybe we'll become a society where that shit won't even be such a heavy looming specter. As I said before, and I mean it, greed is the vice that has the tightest grip on our society. It's not going anywhere either. I am not a fool. I'm not going to act like, it's bad. We should live a life of poverty, because that's not a reality. The moment humans put a price tag on their life, whether it you gotta pay me a wage or you gotta pay for this or that, we set our society. So we need to figure out how to be smarter with this, how to be smarter navigating that. Because I don't hate capitalism. I think there are a lot of really bad character actors that want to shit on capitalism, want to have a twisted version of socialism which they don't understand. And I would love for us to have a more democratic form of socialism because I do believe that a society that makes sure that citizens are fed, makes sure that citizens are educated, is a better spending society. But I also want it to be done smart. And we're not there yet, just like in reparations. We have to, on a state by state basis, do this the right way because, in the wrong hands, that funding could create little schools of indoctrination of a whole new crop of ignorant bigots who keep us uneducated, full up of guns, and just miserable. I want better for our society, but we have to do our part to get there. Got to work on ourselves. We got to stay politically invested and informed. Even if you don't want to look like that guy or girl, because like I said earlier, a lot of my white friends don't want to look that part. It's hard. You don't want to have your peers calling you fake. You're not sure where you truly are on the spectrum. Blah, blah, blah. All the excuses. I hate that I get it, but I get it. But as long as you do vote, you can be as wishy-washy as a motherfucker as far as I'm concerned. I don't care. I just want you doing your civic duty. And I want you thinking beyond yourself because it really does matter. The less knuckleheads we have wasting our time in the halls of Congress, the less chances of a knucklehead being our national leader ever again. That's on us. Can't blame anybody else for putting that doofus 45 in. That was an American dropping the ball. We cannot afford to ever make those kind of mistakes again. And on a national level, we have far too many still loyal, far too many want to be worse than him type cats that need to be put in their place and need to not be running their states into the ground. It's on us. And they have come way too close to losing elections for me. That's what bothers me because the media never wants to spin it that way. They want to make it seem like it's a blowout in Abbott's race. Beto came super close. That's the heartbreaking point of that. Even after Uvalde, even after the grid that took so many lives unnecessarily, even as Abbott could waste millions of dollars shipping migrants like they were rag dolls, he still won by the skin of his teeth. And that should scare the GOP, but no, it emboldens them because they're like, we can get by. We didn't lose Texas. You'll never turn Texas blue. Never say never, fuckers. We're coming for you. I'm not giving up on Texas because we keep getting closer. But it shouldn't take any more baby's blood for you to realize how bad it is. But it is going to take the blood of actual mothers because y'all ain't doing right with your weirdo abortion bans. It's going to cost that state billions. It's not worth it. And that's why I refuse to give up. That's why these Bonnet Chronicles will continue on. Because for every Michigan, for every California, for every, even New York, with its problems, looking at you, Eric Adams, there are plenty of states that still need us. There are no throwaway states in our nation. If we are going to become a solid United States, we have to work on every state and every adjacent country as well. That I know I hate using the term colonies, but that's technically what they are. And as long as there are colonies, we need to take care of them too. Because people have been getting away with exploiting them for far too long as well. They need to be able to feel like they can vocalize for themselves, advocate for beyond, and affect policies for us and beyond. Because we have been exploiting their resources for centuries now. Looking at you, Puerto Rico. And I'm not going to push you to want statehood, because what's the incentive for them for that? We need to be wise on that too. We need to be a nation worthy of them going, you know what? Maybe we should be the 51st state. Maybe we should consider. And they aren't the only supposed territory or colony. We have Guam. We have plenty of nations that should be and used to be independent, that we forced ourselves on, that we do not take care of properly, that we need to start doing right by if we're going to continue to call them a territory. There is so much that I think we could get done, but it takes strong leadership. It takes us saying enough to the us versus them style of the GOP and starting to elect people who want to get the job done. And we've seen what the other side offers between the great pretenders on their side, people who we don't even know if they are who they say they are. Literal liars, tax evaders, and PPP loan scammers. These are not the best. So if you think that, I don't know if I should run as a Democrat, I don't really have much to offer, you're probably going to go up against assholes like Muppet Green. What the hell is she bringing to the table? What the hell is Bobbert bringing to the table? We know Matt Gertz is literally being investigated for sex trafficking. These are not the best people. So we kind of need more of you who thought, I don't know if I can run. What can I bring? I mean, I like studying laws and I like listening to stuff. Is that enough? Yes. We need more pencil pushing nerds. We need more people that can sit and listen and negotiate. We need people who see women's rights as an issue. We need people who see Black lives mattering as an issue. We need people who see the LGBT as humans. We need people who want to move us forward. Enough is over enough of, I got to make enemies. What about morality? I need to worry about morals. What about the lives of unborn children? We don't care about them once they get born. We won't provide actual feeding and education for them. That's on the parents. They got to pull themselves up by the bootstrap. These same people will try over and over again to convince us that they are the moral majority. They do everything so sinisterly. And I just want all of us to just wisen up to their antics and be better people. It's not an attack on you if that ain't you either. And I think a lot of white people are starting to have that real come to Jesus moment. We can attack the antics of some of your flock. We can attack the frauds, the mask wearers, the phonies in faith. And it shouldn't feel like an attack on you if that's not you. And I think as more people start to realize that and call out the actual bad acts, we can get somewhere, because there are way too many people, especially in the GOP right now, faking their way through faith. And it is doing more harm to faith than it needs to be. And I want to see faith continue on, because like I said, I'm not a deeply religious person anymore, but I am a deeply spiritual person. I love studying different religions. I have a deep respect for faith, but I do not have a respect for hardline fundamentalist faith in any lean. And every single sect has their types. And I want to see humans get away from those people, because they are loud, they are constantly in control, and they make things harmful for their people who just want to live a good spiritual life. again, if a spiritual leader is telling you what you can and cannot do, if your spiritual leader is making enemies out of people that aren't like you, they are not a spiritual leader. They all want to be dictator, and you may need to leave because that is a big red flag. And I know some people hate hearing that. Faith is supposed to make you feel whole, and for a lot of people, sometimes you really do feel whole just being in a group. But once that group starts making you feel like, I don't really want to not like the LGBTQ, I don't understand why two people who are grown that aren't in my life and aren't directly impacting or affecting my life being in love. I wouldn't want anybody in my business too. And honestly speaking, yesterday, well, what was it, the day after? Yeah, it's the 12th, actually. Loving versus Virginia. The anniversary of that, they call it Loving Day. My partner and I literally used to be illegal to be together in this country. That's how messed up society is. So I want us to get to a point where we are no longer having to worry about stuff like that. For our LGBTQ brethren, we are not there. In fact, it is a scarier time because the right just want an enemy and they think that they're an easy target, and we have to make it where they're not. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. It has been a really fun extended birthday cast. I want to thank Beans for stopping by. Axiom Wolf, thank you for the 26 months sub. Fluffy, thank you for sitting in. Everybody who has lurked, I am just feeling blessed. 46 years on this earth. 46 years in spite of my own sometimes bad judgment, my own dark thoughts. I'm still here, and I'm hoping that I can say that in even 10 more years. I want to be here and beyond because I feel like we are on the precipice of some really big things. As a Gen X, I've watched this world change so much in a quick amount of time. Things that we used to think were the future is now here. And I can only imagine how much further we are going to be able to go. And it excites me. So I am hopeful. But like I said, nothing's promised. This was a really hard year for me with friends passing as well. And I just want to hopefully be here. But I want you to know that while I don't get to say it all the time, I'm glad that you are all still here too. Because like I said, I know nothing's promised. And I know that any day could be our last. And I just want to cherish every moment we have on here. And I do. I really feel like a lot of times y'all keep me going. And I hope it's the same for you all. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Go have some birthday cake with the family. Go finish my birthday dinner for Moe's. I love all the freebies I got today too, y'all. I'm not even going to lie or front. A lot of good coupons off for stuff. It's one of the few things I love about getting old. But I am just so happy and feel so blessed by all of you. So I definitely thank you all. And thank you to everybody who has been donating to the Housewarming Fund. That is going to be up till July 4th. And like I said, I don't want people to feel obligated to it. It's just something that I felt like I'll just throw it up and see, and so many people have been so nice and generous, and I appreciate all of you. Links to all of that will be in the upload to YouTube, but for now, I am going to get ready to wrap this up. I feel like I'm doing a Minnesota goodbye as it is. I will see you all on Tuesday, hopefully. There shouldn't be anything that is in the way of that, and I was waiting for that. It's been a while. me. I will see you all next Bonnet Chronicles. You have a great weekend.